Zonks, don't you come in here barking it. Good morning. um, Welcome to buyer training day 3. Today we're going to go over purchase orders. So this is basically after the requisition has gone through and we've seen and it's been gone through approval and now has a purchase order number. So now what we're going to see is how to see a confirmation, how to see a PO status, how to modify, cancel, how to change the PO owner, and how to change the supplier on the PO. And then we're also going to see the different types of POs, a CXML, EDI, email, or prompt. Show you what supplier sites are and basically what they look like. Explain how the Coupa supplier portal details can help with the supplier receiving on the POs, what a failed transmission looks like, what a buyer hold looks like, and how to resolve those, and how to do a pending manual, how to also resolve a pending manual. All right, let's go and test. All right, so to look at our purchase orders, we're going to go into orders. And you're going to have your properties view, basically, to see all of your properties purchase orders. So if there's something basically that you need to go in here and search for, you can go in advanced. You can search by PO number, which would start with a C. If you have to search by PO number, if you want to do by PO ID, that's without the C. So that's like if you see right here below it says C389520. So you can put 389520. I use this a lot because of the warehouse. They always give me the 6-digit code. They don't start with the C. They always give it to me with the 6-digit numbers. So I use PO ID a lot when I have to go look at a purchase order. So the first thing we're going to look at is how to modify or cancel a purchase order. No, I can't find it. Tell me. Let's try this. Search. No, it don't come up quick. Go to all. Now that is so weird, but we are in test. Okay, so here's one, and as you can see, it says pending manual. So basically, it's something that the supplier did not get. So it would be something that I would need to send to the supplier. So I can do that several ways. So one of the ways is this green arrow is basically, it says send PO number. So I can click on this green arrow and it's going to bring up a screen. Basically, I'm going to have in here the actual email address for that supplier. There may be one already in the system, and I'll show y'all that in a few of these suppliers' email address already set up. So that may be, or if you are in contact with the supplier, you may put an email address here to send the purchase order to. So I just happen to know theirs. So that is where I would send this off to, and I'm going to click OK. So as you can tell, the green bar came in and it says sent, and the transmission status says scheduled for email. So basically it's going to filter through the system, and eventually you'll see that it'll say that it's already sent for an email. I think I know why I didn't do that. And that's why. So as you can tell, the transmission status has changed and it says sent via email. So another way to modify, the purchase order would be to go in and let's say we need to change the quantity. So we have several ways that we can do that. As a buyer, we can go in and revise. So we can go in and let's say the end user or the supplier has contacted us, said, hey, these comes in a quantity of 75, so you have to order, in quantities of that, so I need to change this to like 150. So I can go in here and change it. Now, usually when I make changes, and this is not everyone, but usually when I make changes, I always put a note saying updated quantity 150 per supplier. I always put in who told me to make those changes or why, I needed to make those changes. So I'm going to add a private comment. And then I'm going to click submit. Now, as you can tell, submit brings you that transmission method screen back up. So if the supplier is requesting like, hey, can you resend me the revised PO? But if not, I can put mark as sent. That way it's not sending it back to the supplier, because sometimes you send it back to the supplier and they'll duplicate the purchase order. So just, you may want to confirm that when you make the revision, that if you need to send it back to the supplier or not, so that way it won't duplicate the purchase order. You're going to click OK.
Could we just write in the comment, do not duplicate this order, revision to line 1?
You can. Let me show you how to do that. So you can, but you're taking a chance. Sometimes they don't read the lines as far as like when you see a purchase order. So
okay.
So you can do it as a text. So I'm going to click revise again. Or in this instance, say I can put a text here and say, do not duplicate. And click send to supplier and click add. Or I can put here, do not duplicate, resending revised order. And put add comment to supplier. This will actually go to the supplier for them to see. So if there is a supplier who is in Coupa, who does get the POs via email, and they're in the Coupa portal, they'll be able to see this note attached to this purchase order and will be able to respond to it. Like, they have some suppliers who will respond to you back and forth through Coupa, which is great. They can see, and then you can see when you're doing revisions or anything in Coupa and you're talking with a supplier. If you have a supplier like that you can talk with through Coupa, they will see this note and will respond.
Hey, Kashana, let me ask you a question. I'm going to also email you this question. Is there a checklist that's going to show us based on moving from Stratton Warren to Coupa? Here are your daily tasks. Here is what's going to happen automatically in Coupa versus what we have to manually do in Coupa. Because my buyer and I are going back and forth on what's automated and what isn't. So for example, we got a letter today, one of our vendors' EIN numbers changing. In Stratton Warren, we would have to almost create a new vendor for them. Mm-hmm. So we were contemplating what to do with this letter from an attorney, notarized. Should we just go into Stratton Warren now, create a new vendor so that Coupa will have it interface over, or do we wait? So
that would be a Nikki question. But if you were already in Coupa and a supplier sent you that information, you would send it off to the supplier's email address, lvscsuppliers@pngaming.com. You would, you would send that information off to them and they would take care of it in Coupa.
That was what we were pondering. Okay, thank you.
But since they may not have done the actual transition of like all your item numbers and everything just yet. I would send that off to, we're going to ask that question to Nikki and see, exactly what y'all need to do in the present right now.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And as far as like your daily tasks and what to do, a lot of things in Coupa compared to Stratton, they are going to be more automated. The thing that you're going to be looking at on a daily basis would be what's in pending buyer action, and resolving those things in pending buyer action.
So let me ask you this one last question, then I'll stop interrupting. Suppliers, we have local suppliers that don't have a punch out on Coupa.
Mm-hmm.
Just what does that look like?
So depending on, you will probably have to, and it's going to be a Nikki question. They're going to answer it. But most likely you're going to be in charge of doing that catalog for it. If y'all have like a catalog in Coupa, I'm sorry, in Stratton. I don't want to say catalog because that's not what it's called. But if you have that in Stratton, where it's something that they order on a consistent basis, then that will be something that you will create that catalog, have that catalog that has like item numbers and all that stuff in Coupa. So that is another training class that y'all will be taking for as far as how to do catalogs.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay. Submit, and I'm gonna mark it sent. Okay. Okay. Now, so let's say I need to, not only do they want pink mask, now they want black mask too. So now I need to add a line to that same PO. So I'm gonna go back into the PO, or you can click the pencil. I'm gonna go back in here, and I'm going to go add a line to the PO because now they want black masks. Change it to black. And I'm going to only order. So it comes in 75, and let's see, it is $2.40 a piece. I need these next week. Well, I need them at the end of the week. And I'm going to add my commodity, which is potency. And I'm going to click submit. And I can put in here, add a line. Okay. Did I break it? Oh, come on. No, I don't want to be my friend. Okay, now it's stuck. Okay. Hold on. This is test. So. Oh, it came back to me. All right. Oh, it did it, I guess. Oh, well, there you go. Successfully revised and sent. All right. So there is another way to revise a PO. And most of the time I see this is on the end user side. So let's say they want to take off, let's say, well, we don't need the mini pink mask anymore. We just want the 75. So I'm going to request change. So in my change request, I'm going to actually go and mark Change this to 75. And as you can tell now, it has an approver's queue. So in the change request, if it's an end user doing it, their approver will be put into that change request along with the buyers. So they'll put in a change request. It's going to come to the buyers next to basically see, like, in their change request, you're basically looking at accuracy and making sure that whatever changes they're making can be made. So I'm going to submit change request. But as you can tell here at the bottom, you can request to cancel the appeal. You can request, you can save the change request and come back to it later, or you can submit change request. And I'm going to submit the change request. So as you can see there is a pending change request on this purchase order, and I can click to view the pending change. And I was the one that initiated. So if it's an end user, basically their name would be here and when it was submitted on. And we can see what the change was, that I reduced the number from 150 to 75 and the total. So basically now we can resend approval notification. That means if it's been sitting in someone's queue and it needs to be, they need to look at it and say, hey, you need to go in and approve this. That's where it can be. I can withdraw the change. I can reject it. It goes back to the end user basically with a comment saying, hey, you can't make this change. It's too late. It's already shipped. Or I can approve it and it can go to the next approver. So as now you can see it's made the change. And of course, we're back at, the same ones you see when you go into a purchase order, the basically buttons that you can use to revise or make changes to a purchase order. So now let's say we want to cancel a purchase order. So let's say there's like, okay, we don't have this in the budget. We're just going to go ahead and cancel this PO. And this is from the end user, of course. We're going to cancel this PO. So we have two ways we can cancel. Of course, you can go in here, request change. And you can do request PO cancellation. And I'm just going to show you the different ways. And here, this red arrow is to cancel a PO. So basically, if I'm canceling a PO, it can go back to the suppliers, basically advising them that this PO is canceled, with the correct email address. But usually before I cancel a PO, and this is what I do, I always go in and put a note about why I canceled it. So if I'm going to cancel this PO, I'm going to say, per end user, no longer need items, cancel PO. And add a private comment. That way, when you go in the system, you see, oh, this has been canceled. Well, why did we cancel this? There's a note in there basically stating why it was canceled. So request PO cancellation. So as you can see, it says PO cancellation for this person has been submitted for approval. So we can click to view pending change. And as you can tell, it says in red letters, this is a cancellation. So we can click to approve or reject it, basically stating that you can, if you can't make this change and say it's already shipped, then basically I have to reject it and let them know like this PO has already shipped. Cannot cancel. And I can reject it back to the end user, basically letting them know that you can't cancel it. Any questions on that? Excuse me, any questions on that one? Okay. All right, so let's say for these, we'll still keep working with the masks. Let's say that MBS, which is this supplier, let's say they can't provide the mask and I found another supplier that can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that supplier to the supplier who can. I'm going to keep the same items, but I'm going to change the supplier. So I'm going to click revise. And I'm going to update the supplier to Readabus. And I'm going to click submit. So you're going to get a pop-up that says you're canceling the PO of the original supplier and creating a PO for the new supplier. Please confirm. And that's what we want to do. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click OK because I want to send the new purchase order off. And as you can tell, it canceled that PO with the old supplier and issued it to the new supplier.
Cash, did the old supplier get a cancellation also? Or just the new supplier get the email PO?
So we can advise, and most likely they did get a PO. I mean, get an email, cannot confirm or deny. But just in case, you can easily go outside of Coupa and email the supplier saying, but it's probably already been stated. If we were canceling the PO or if the supplier came back and said, hey, we can't provide this, then, we've already had a conversation with the supplier saying, okay, cancel. So most likely they've canceled the PO before you've even taken this step.
Okay, thank you.
Because as you can tell now, you can't do anything else to this PO. You can't open it back up. You can't resend it. You can't do anything. Basically, once a PO is canceled or closed, it is like you can do nothing else with the PO. You can add notes. You can go in here and add notes, but you can't do anything else. So if you wanted to add a note to the supplier, this PO is canceled, please confirm, but other than that, it's basically once it's canceled, it's done. Any questions on that one? Okay. So next thing we're going to see is how to change the purchase order owner. So basically this purchase order is currently in my name. So let's say I need to put it in someone else's name, and it could be for various reasons. Let's say I need let's say that end user is out and that person may need to go in and receive on it PO now that that person is out. Or let's say, and we'll get to invoicing in our next training class, but let's say in invoicing, let's say the director wants to be the one to go in and receive on it, or I have like on the marine crew, they work 1 week on, 1 week off. So let's say the person that put in the purchase order, it may be their week off. So the person that's their week on, they need to go in and actually, you know, receive on the purchase order, anything like that. So it could be various reasons why you may need to change the purchase order owner. So to do that, you're going to go into the purchase order and you're going to click on requisition, on the requisition number. And as you can see from here, you can see that created by, which was me, and requested by, which was me. But I want to change it to someone else. So I'm going to change it to that's my warehouse assistant manager. So I'm going to change it to his name and click save. So that'll basically give him access to this purchase order so that if he needs to go in and make changes, they can, well, I don't want to say make changes, but they can request a change to the PO now. They can, when the invoice comes through, they can basically, they can go in there, their name will be on there for them to go in and actually, if they have to receive on it, they can receive. So now they have access to this purchase order. As you can tell, now it has changed to their name. Any questions about changing a purchase order owner? So we looked at supplier change, purchase order change. Now let's look at transmissions. So as you can tell, transmission status is basically stating where the purchase order is in the process as far as it getting from Coupa to the supplier. So you can see these say pending manual. So that means that the supplier has not gotten the purchase order, has not received the purchase order. So we would need to make sure that we send the purchase order to them. So you can always check in here and you'll have views where you'll be able to check if, as you can tell, say pending manual, to see all the purchase orders that actually need to be sent to the supplier. So the easiest way to do that is clicking on the green arrow and clicking OK to send the supplier. So I'm going to show you in the supplier section and actually I'm going to show you in live because it doesn't really show like what it says in test. So the first one we're going to kind of look at is like a CXML. So basically all of these, can't really see. Oh, that's not helping me. Okay. So this is a supplier that the actual purchase order goes through CXML, and this is the way to tell. So as you can tell, there's an address for CXML that all the purchase orders go through. So if you were sending the PO manually, there's an PO email address that basically this is go through. So if you had to send a revision or whatever, it says PO method prompt, meaning that when you click submit, there's a prompt, that transmission prompt comes up and it says that the PO change method is an email. So you will send it by email address and not back through CXML. The second thing about, and I'm going to show y'all when I a free text. I mean, to show y'all how to do supplier sites. So supplier sites for, and we have Cintas, we have and MBS have supplier sites. So basically, when you put in an order, and let's say you went through the punch out catalog, and I'll show you what that looks like. And you had to, when it goes back into a requisition, it's going to prompt you and ask you in the line item, did you get this from a punch out? It's going to say supplier site. And it's basically asking you, well, you're going to put in whether it's a punch out order, a free text order, or a service PO. So with Cintas in this scenario, so that's three things that basically you would have to put into the quote unquote supplier site to basically for that requisition to be go for approval. So let's see, I think I have one. Okay. And I'm going to state that's something that your end users should put in. And the reason I'm saying that is because if they don't put in what the supplier site is, it will drop into pending buyer action for us to fill in, for the buyer to fill in. So we basically want to make sure that the end users know, like when they see that box that says supplier site, that they know what they're putting it in for. If they got the item off a punch out catalog, if there's, they did a special order with them and it's a free text, or if it's a service purchase order, basically like basically an SPO, or they had service to come out to do whatever needed to be done on property, and that's what they're, the supplier is going to be charging for. Then they want to make sure that they put in their supplier site service PO. Okay, I don't have one. Okay, let me go in and do. I'm gonna have to show you in live because it doesn't show in. Okay. So I know y'all haven't learned about punch out catalogs. So this is a very brief overview as of right now. So we're gonna do MBS. So MBS has a supplier site. So let me show you what I mean when I say supplier sites. So as you can tell, they also do their POs by CXML. And their supplier site is either freeform or punch out catalog. So let's say I need to order some business cards. And these are the business card options. Let's pick something simple. Sorry. So I need to order. Let's order one of these. Oh, what? Don't. That's not good. Okay, let's order some letterhead. All right, send order. So as you can see in the line item, you can see in red. So everything in red is what we need to fill out. So it's asking for supplier site. So basically I got this item off the punch out catalog. So I'm going to type in punch. And as you can tell, it actually populated. So I'm going to click on that line. And you can tell it says required for approval. So it's something that needed to be done it's be required for approval. And I'm going to put in the date. And I'm going to click save. Now, as you can tell, pending buyer action went away. Once the supplier site is in, if it's on the end user side, it will go directly to their approver. So I'm not going to send this because I'm in live and I don't want to send this. So I'm going to save for later so I can. And that's another tip. Actually, let's say you're doing a requisition, and I know we were on requisitions before, but if you're doing a requisition and you don't want to do it anymore, or you may need to like cancel that requisition out while you're still like in the process of doing a requisition. So let me explain what both of these mean. So save, if you click save, it will save it and still leave it in your cart. If you click save for later, it will save it and take it out of your cart. So I click save for later because I want to take it out of my cart, because if you go to do another requisition, now you have two different things in your cart. So I do save for later, so that, as you can see, it's in my recent activity and I have actions here. I can go in here and actually delete it. So remember, save is for if you want to save it and it will stay in your cart. So if you want to come back, if you need to get some additional information, or you need to come back to it, you want to save where your progress is, then you click save and it will keep it in your cart. Save for later will save your progress and take it out of your cart. Okay, so we saw what Supplier Site was. Now let's go back into suppliers. So let's say that there may be suppliers who multiple properties may use, and therefore you have you may have multiple so there may be a different rep for your region, or a rep for just your property that you would need to send a purchase order to. This is BG distribution, which to us is Republic. So we know there's Republic all over the country. And so for Republic, for us, there is a different rep for my property than it may be for the property in Baton Rouge or the property in Lake Charles. So in that instance, Coupa prompts, we're basically telling you is email, but it's going to prompt at the end of the purchase order, which you will have to go into your view of pending manual to actually send this purchase order off. So every time someone creates a purchase order for BG distribution, I have to go in and manually send it off to my rep for them to process the purchase order, if that makes sense. So pending manual may be something that is also looked at on a daily basis, or however often you may need to look, however often your end users are placing orders, or if they know that, okay, I need to place my order, BG distribution may deliver on Wednesdays. I know I need to place my order by 12 o'clock on Tuesdays. So I know that maybe I need to go in and look, at 12 o'clock or sometime before 11 o'clock on Tuesdays to see if they have any BG distribution in the system. And if they do, I need to go ahead and make sure I'm sending these off to the rep. And see, for my property, I have two reps. I have one for wine and one for liquor. So I have to make sure that whatever's on the purchase order, that I'm sending it to the correct rep. Does that make sense? I can show you another one. So let's say if it was like Lowe's. So as you can tell here in Lowe's, we have 3 different Lowe's set up, and some of them are set up by the particular, like this store, but that's the particular store for Baton Rouge. But we can use the Lowe's, like I use Lowe's credit services when I purchase something from the Lowe's store. I use Lowe's credit services because that's who we pay for when we get our Lowe's bill. So it is also one. So I don't want to make. I want to make sure that I'm not sending it off to this store. This is a particular store that I need to send it off to my store. So that's another, another way to say, hey, I need to send it off to a particular store. And it's the same thing, like if you have with Home Depot and you're sending it off to a store, or Home Depot Pro, which is what a lot of us have started using, Home Depot Pro. I want to send it off to my Home Depot Pro rep, and it's the same way. Basically, I need to make sure that when the purchase order goes off, that I'm sending it to my rep and not to whatever store or whatever is set up. Because this right here is a particular store, but that's not where we want to send it. So let me show you, which is it. I like this function actually in Coupa. Let's see. Let's go back and test. It should let us do that. And you can do this, of course, two different ways. So let's say that click edit. So let's say you already know who you need to actually send your purchase order to in the requisition. You're in the requisition. Let's say you're in pending buyer. Let's say you're in pending buyer action, and you know that you need to send it to. You need to send it to. You need to send it to a certain supplier. So here, as you can tell, we have supplier default, which is excuse me, Karan. Go in there.
Okay.
Okay. Bye bye. Sorry about that. So let's say you have like you already know which the email address you need to send it to a particular person that at the supplier, and then you need to email the purchase order to them in particular. So as you can tell in transmission method, you have supplier default, which is if they have a particular email address under the PO email transmission, that's where it's going to send. But let's say you don't want to send it to them. So for example, like in Home Depot, you don't want to send it to them. You want to send it to your rep. So you're going to click email. And here you can type in their email address here, and it will send the purchase order off to them in particular. So also, if you're like saying you're doing a service, not a service, I'm sorry, a standing purchase order, and you don't want to send it to, let's say it's to the electric company, and let's say we don't want it to transmit to whatever email address it may have or it may not have to that particular person. Or if you're doing a purchase order but you don't want it to transmit, you're doing it for whatever purposes, you can put do not transmit, and it actually will not send the purchase order off once it gets approved, if that makes sense. So if I wanted to have a particular email that I usually, like I said, for my BG distribution, if I am doing the requisition for it, I can put in that email address right here in the requisition, and it will send that off to the rep. Now in the purchase order, when we saw the prompts that came up, so as you can tell here, it has email where I can put in the particular email address. I can click mark as sent because I had already, the supplier and I have already made a notification. They don't need they don't need me to resend a PO. I can put mark as sent, or I can put do not transmit. Basically, saying that I don't want it to go anywhere, saying it's marked as sent. I don't want this, PO to go anywhere, I can put do not transmit. Any questions on that one? Okay. All right, so we looked at supplier sites. Now let's look at a failed transmission, buyer hold, and pending. We looked at pending manuals. So let's see if we have any in. Now you can go in here, and as you can tell, I don't have any in failed transmission, which is great. Let's see, buyer hold. So here I have one on buyer hold. So if it's on buyer hold, basically we're going to be basically doing the same thing. Buyer hold means, so like for example, my BG distribution, if I had one that came along, I just clicked on someone's, it doesn't matter. If I had one BG distribution, it may go to buyer hold. So buyer hold means that basically I need to send this off to a supplier after it has come through. So after it has been approved. So here's one, you can tell it's old, but basically it needed to be sent off to the supplier. So basically Cooper prompts, so this is the prompt, is basically sending saying like, hey, you may have to send this off manually to the supplier. So we're going to click send. It's going to have the email address, and we're going to click OK. Oh, probably because it's old. Let me pick a newer one. Oh, that's not that old too. Okay. Wait a minute, let me go back to mine. Buyer hold. All right. We put in a different email address. I'll show it. Going live. I don't have any in live. So basically you can't see, but it basically works the same way. So you click that green button, you put in, if it has the email address there already, and that's the appropriate email address that you're sending it to, you click OK to send it. Or if there's not an email address, you put one there in that box, and then click OK for it to send it to wherever you need it to go. Failed transmission. So failed transmission a lot of time has to deal with CXML. It didn't go over properly. So basically what we want to do, we're going to have to send this over via email. So unfortunately, the supplier may have to go in and enter it manually or however they do on their end. So the only way to get this to send over is to send it via email. So same thing, you're going to press the green button and you're going to click OK. And it's going to say sent. So basically if it ever comes back, and so looking at failed transmission is something like real quick to kind of do to kind of move along or whatever. So if something happens, but if you have this many failed transmissions, there may be something going on that you may have to email e-procurement to basically find out, what's happening, like why does it keep failing? There may be something else going on. We've been in Coupa for a while now that we don't really have that many transmission failures. However, since y'all are going to be new in Coupa, that may be something you're going to see. So just knowing that you're going to go into the view, go to your failed transmission, and basically do the same thing. You're going to be sending them over manually. Any questions on that one? Okay. So we saw how to clear a buyer hold, how to clear a pending manual, and how to clear failed transmissions is basically all the same thing. Is basically clicking that red, clicking the green arrow. Please don't tell me if I say red. If I say red, forgive me. Clicking the green arrow and making sure you send, the purchase order off to the supplier, and making sure you have the appropriate email address to send off to the supplier. And once you're in Coupa and the email address has changed, you will send that off to LVSC suppliers for them to update it. Any questions? Because as of, oh Lord, I ain't know I looked that, why y'all tell me I look that bad in front of this light? So as of right now, that is it for the day for purchase orders. Any questions, any other questions about purchase orders? Okay, well, I'm going to stop recording.